welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video is very exciting and I just hope that this will encourage you and help you guys along with your faith walk when you're walking with Jesus. This video is going to be about effective fasting tips to deepen your relationship with God. That looks weird. We're fine. In my experience with fasting, it has brought so much breakthrough and clarity and guidance for me. It has also deepened and strengthened my relationship with God so much because you're really dependent on Him and you're showing Him how important He is to you when you are seeking Him and when you are sacrificing something that means a lot to you and that's hard for you to surrender. God honors that. And it's a really powerful thing to do. So if you guys want to know more about fasting and some of the tips that I have for you guys, then just keep on watching. The motives behind fasting is to be really seeking God and seeking His voice and seeking His clarity and His discernment and His direction in your life. And that could be for a specific area that you are really struggling in or needing clarity in. So that could be like asking Him to show you where He wants you to move, or what relationship He has for you, or what job He has lined up for you and where He wants you to take your next step, stuff like that. And then also fasting itself could just be that you just want to be closer with God and that you are seeking Him and you miss Him and you want to feel His closeness. And that is something that is super effective if you are going through a dry season in your spiritual walk, which we all walk through. But when you fast and you give up something that is hard for you to give up, your other senses are kind of doled out and the sense of God's presence is so near and so close because all you have is like Him to turn to and to look to and to like put your focus on. And it really does amazing transformations. So our motives behind fasting should always be because we just want to be closer with God and we want to hear His voice better. Fasting shouldn't be approached in a manner of, if I fast, then I'm going to get this. It should be approached in a manner of you're truly seeking God and that intimacy with Him and that clarity and that direction from Him. And it should be focused on the gift giver, not on the gift itself. Biblical fasting is to say no to your flesh and say yes to God. And when you do that, you are deepening your relationship with God tremendously. So I am usually led to fast when I am in a season where I feel that God is placing something in my path, but I'm not sure if it's from Him, if it's something that He wants me to make a move on, if He wants me to go in that direction or not. I will usually fast when something is really, really important that I want God to show me what to do. Because when you fast over things like that, you're showing God that this is really, really important to you and that you know that you need Him to show you the way and that you need to seek Him wholeheartedly because you know that only He can give you the directions on where He wants you to go and what He has for you. And it really just shows your dedication to Him. And God honors that a lot. So fasting is super effective in that way. So how I usually fast is I will bullet point some stuff on a piece of paper that I know is really important in my life that I need clarity and discernment on. You can also bullet point, I just want you. I just want deeper intimacy with you. I want a deeper relationship with you. I want to know you better. I want to know your heart better. I want to be closer to you. And those are typically what I put on my fasting lists, is along those lines. But I recommend to put down bullet points because it helps you to just stay focused on what you're praying for specifically. And you can go back and see from the bullet points that you listed what God has been showing you and what He's been speaking to you and where He's leading you. And it's really amazing to see God's hand upon your life when you're fasting because you really are so in tune with Him and with His direction. So what do you fast from? You fast from anything that is going to be hard for you to give up. You will need to be really dependent on God during this time. So the main way to fast is fasting from food And that can be started out small. It doesn't have to be the whole day without food when you're first starting out. That's extreme. But you can start out with like skipping lunch and just using that time instead of having lunch to be with God and be in prayer and seek Him. So you can start out just skipping a meal. The way that I typically fast is doing a sunset type of fast. So that's when you have breakfast in the morning and then you basically don't eat anything throughout the day. You only have water, and then you have your dinner at night. So that's usually from like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and they usually call that the sunset fast. I usually do that type of fast. Also, while I'm fasting, I only drink water. I don't chew gum, which is really hard because I love chewing gum, but I know that it's kind of like a cheat. I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like I'm cheating when I chew gum, but that is just me. Another thing that you can fast from is sweets if you have a sweet tooth. I have a sweet tooth, and this is really hard for me. Honestly, I think fasting from sweets is harder than fasting from food in general because I'm like, I just want to have something sweet. And then like when you can only have like foods that aren't sweet, you're like, so yeah, it makes it a little bit more intense, but fasting from sweets is definitely something that you can do to challenge yourself as well. Another big way to fast, especially in our generation, is to fast from social media. If this is something that you find is hard for you to give up and that you're constantly going to your phone rather than like going to God in prayer or reading your Bible or seeking God. If social media is a issue with you, that you feel like you go on it way too much, way more than you should be, I recommend fasting from social media. That is something that a lot of people do, and it's super effective because you're using that time that you would be on social media to seek God and to read the Bible and to listen to worship music, listen to a sermon on YouTube. It's just a really great way to get your eyes and your mind off of social media and onto God. And it's really refreshing, and it's a really amazing way to fast. So I recommend that if that's something that you struggle with. So I wanted to read something from the Bible. This is in the book of Matthew, and this is chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. So you guys probably know the story of when Jesus was tempted. After Jesus got baptized, he was then led into the wilderness and he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights before he began his ministry here on earth. So that's just a little bit of context, and I'm going to read Matthew chapter 4, verses 1 through 4. And it says, "Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted there by the devil. For 40 days and 40 nights he fasted and became very hungry. During that time the devil came and said to him, 'If you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become loaves of bread.' But Jesus told him, 'No, the scriptures say people do not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God.'" So that is a really amazing way that Jesus clapped back to the devil. Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, first off. Can we just take a moment? Anyways, so basically what Jesus is saying is that his word is what gives us life, and that we don't have to be so dependent on what we think that we need, like food. We can go without food. We can go a day without food or a couple days without food, depending on your circumstance. But basically he's saying that this is our soul food, and this is what feeds our soul, and this is what gives us life. So instead of turning to like physical food, turning to like the soul food and what actually gives you life, and reading this and meditating on this and letting this sink in is a really amazing way to motivate you to read the word and get in the word and really let the word transform you and sink in, rather than eating a cheeseburger. So the next thing that I wanted to read about is Matthew chapter 6, and this is verses 16 through 18. And this is basically when Jesus is telling us to not to make it obvious that we're fasting by trying to get pity from other people and for being like, woe is me, I'm so hungry, this is so like, I'm struggling so much. Like, Jesus is basically saying, when you do that, you're defeating the purpose, because fasting is between you and God. Matthew chapter 6, verses 16 through 18 says, "And when you fast, don't make it obvious as the hypocrites do, for they try to look miserable and disheveled, so people will admire them for their fasting. I tell you the truth, that is the only reward they will ever get. But when you fast, comb your hair and wash your face. Then no one will notice that you are fasting except your Father, who knows what you do in private. And your Father, who sees everything, will reward you." So basically, we are not to tell anyone that we're fasting, and that is part of our flesh and our human nature. We want people to feel for us. That's why we're not supposed to do that, because it's truly between you and God when you fast, and it shows your commitment to God and how serious you are about Him. And when you tell people, then it opens up a door for pride to come in. So yeah, when you fast, just keep it between you and God will reward you. God sees you, God knows you, God loves you. So there have been times where I have fasted and I got so much direction and clarity from God, and I felt His closeness so strongly. And I've really seen how effective this is. And you could just sense that closeness more because your senses are so in tune with His when you're just focusing on Him and truly dependent on Him. Fasting and prayer really do bring tremendous spiritual breakthrough, and this is something that I highly recommend. And I know that it's really hard first starting out. Like, you do not want to give up what you like, obviously. But fasting really is worth it. And when you're done and when you look back, it's really amazing to see what God has shown you during that time and where He's led you and what work He's done in you during that time. The last thing that I want to talk about with fasting is realizing that God equips you for your fast and that He gives you the grace and the strength that you need to go through it. Fasting is led by God, and He will usually give you direction on how long to fast or what He wants you to fast from. And He will do that by just placing that desire in your heart and that thirst in your heart to seek Him in an area and just seek Him specifically. So when He leads you in this and you know that you need to fast, God will give you the grace and the strength to do it. Alright, that's it for today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and that it inspired you and encouraged you to take that step deeper with God in your relationship with Him and to seek Him through fasting. This is a really powerful thing, and I know that it will bring transformation to your life and to your walk with God, to your relationship with Jesus. So I highly recommend to start fasting. You can start out small, but just really try it out and see what God does, because He really does move powerfully through this. So if you guys did like this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel. You can drop a comment below and tell me some of your fasting experiences and maybe some tips that you have for me and for the others that are watching. And I have an Instagram page. It's called Let Freedom In. So make sure to check that out, because I post updates on what videos I'm going to be posting and when I'm going to be posting them throughout the week. So make sure to give me a follow on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I hope that you guys have an amazing and blessed and beautiful day.